Welcome to part 4 of my European vacation from 2018. It was a short trip from Dublin to Barcelona, relatively speaking. The first day, just met up with Tio Jose, had a little walk around, then back to the TOCHostel. Second day was finding a bike rental, took it out and ended up in this Parc de la Barceloneta. Very windy. And then it was back to the TOCHostel for a bit of a swim and a relax, and then out at night with Tio Jose at a little place in the old part of town called La Whiskeria. And then on to day 12 when I didn't forget the camera and got out on the road, checking out all the cool bike lanes. I basically went north, south, east and west on my trip. Very easy to navigate around Barcelona. And here I am at the Placa de España. And as with many of my trips, I'm not exactly sure where I'm going. I just kind of follow my nose. This section is kind of interesting because it has the bike lane in the middle of the street, just using white lines. So yeah, climbing up Montjuic in Barcelona. Not bad for a 3-speed bike. Actually, the gears are not that bad. Suitable. A bit of a rest halfway up. Good view. And then it was up to the top, as far as I could go on the bike at least. And then back down, and then all the way back down into the harbour area. We got to see some pretty amazing vessels, sailing vessels. A lot more crowded though. And it was getting a bit frustrating to navigate all the different cyclists who basically didn't know what they were doing. Tourists, it was getting a little bit hectic. As you can see, the traffic's a bit more built up. But due to my experience riding in cities, it wasn't that difficult for me to kind of get the drift of how cyclists were doing their thing in Barcelona either. Beautiful weather, perfect for cycling without a helmet or a hat. So I got down to the harbour and started checking out the various parts of the harbour that are accessible by bike. In this section, the boats are, average, lovely boats. And then I went into the section where the boats were, shall we say, more than average. Unbelievably, I don't know what you could call this thing. A monster boat. Anyway, so after checking out these big things, I ended up getting back into the traffic. Good example is these young women on my left on the white bicycles. No clue whatsoever. So I decided to just get out of this mess and just get away from the mall. And it was at this point that I realized that the battery was starting to go on the action camera. Have a sit down, check things out. Alright, come down from Montjuic on the bike. I'm now back at the port. And back among the crowds. Gets a bit kind of frustrating after a while trying to navigate through people. They'll be kind of have a bit of open road.
I'm going to go and try and explore places I've not been already, and I've been yesterday. Other than that, I've run out of water, and I might be running out of batteries soon,
So it's back to the TOCHostel for a recharge and a nap, and then it was back off on the road on the bike at about 4 o'clock for an afternoon ride. And I just followed my nose once again, and it landed me right here at one of Barcelona's most famous landmarks. I really didn't know where I was going, but I just followed my nose and I ended up there. My overall impression was that I can understand that it's a church, but is it an art exhibit of some kind? It's really hard to tell the difference. Anyway, the clouds started coming in and it looked like it was gonna rain. And as with most people, I only had a t-shirt on. I took no wet weather clothing at all. So it was a bit of a hangout here at the Sagrada Familia. Back on the bike, and by the time I got back to TOCHostel, it was coming down. But it was still warm, as it does in Barcelona. It never gets that really cold. And then retired the bike for the night, and then went and explored some of the art going on in the hostel itself. One of the interesting aspects of staying at hostels is that it's generally for young people, as you can see from this part of the video. You do feel a little bit of an odd end. Anyway, I went over to the Barcelona Beer Company for some dinner, and then the next day it was off to Sitges by train to check out the lovely little town. I took the bike with me because I'd be doing the cycling around the town. Very accessible trains for bikes, lots of bike racks, etc. Beautiful Mediterranean azul blue. And coming into the lovely Sitges, I was inspired to go to Sitges by a couple of people. My friends Cameron and Jenny Ann had been there just a few weeks earlier. And my friend Eva, who lived there for many years. Sitges is a nice little seaside town. Beautiful. Lots of people in the summer. Took a ride out to the end of the pier. Always windy, but very warm wind that blows off the Mediterranean. And then it was just checking out the town on the bike. It was a Sunday. The song you're listening to in the background is Cycling on a Sitges Sunday Afternoon, which is what the name of the song is, inspired by this day in Sitges. So after a little ride around the town, it was time to have a sit down and do what you do. You check out the people going by with pizza and a beer. And it was time to move on again, back to the station, eventually. I didn't see many cyclists cycling around Sitges, so it gave me the impression I was kind of not doing something right, but not doing something wrong at the same time. So I was jumping back on the train off to Barcelona Sants station. Which was not the station I'd started off from. Much bigger station. I was, for some reason, at a smaller station. So I came out of the station. I didn't quite know where I was until I saw this landmark down on the left, at which I'd been at the previous day. And now I'm back at Plaza de España. And just to make a left and head back. And then it was a quiet night with Uncle Jose for a late night dinner, watching the Barcelona game. Sadly, they lost. There's Jose. And that concluded my time in Barcelona. Next day was off to Milan, to Bergamo, and then a bus ride into Milan, into the train station, and then off to Florence. And that's coming up next in my next video. Stay tuned, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to East Van Drone.